What do most people do in their working lives? You got it. They solve problems. Small problems, medium problems, sometimes large problems on a day-to-day basis, right? They do that on a regular basis. That's most of us in working America. Now, what do people who are more mature in the working place, what do they do? You're right. They solve problems more creatively. So, greetings. My name is Al Batinga with the Mendeville, and we're so excited to be representing CCS Learning Academy, an upskilling company that's helping you in all your educational needs. And so, what we're going to talk about today is the course, the workshop on creative problem solving. So, let's take a look at this. First and foremost, again, Deanna Mendeville, Al Batinga, CCS Learning Academy. And what we do is we help upskill you. So the concept now is creative problem solving. So let's go through a 10,000-foot view to invite you to come to our class called Creative Problem Solving. So first and foremost, let's talk about topics. So what are some of the topics we talk about? Well, the first one is easy, right? What is problem solving? Now, you and I may say, oh, that's easy. It's solving a problem. Now, it is very simplistic like that in some ways. And in other ways, we have to ask ourselves, are we solving that problem? Or are we solving the root cause of that problem? That's a whole other topic, because what happens when we solve the problem, we usually solve the system or the symptom actually of the problem, not the actual problem or not the root problem. Now, what's the definition of that? A symptom recurs. So it might be a day, a week, a month, maybe even 6 months, but it will recur. And so most of our efforts need to be focused on the root problem, the actual problem, not the symptom. And so there's a lot more to just defining what is the problem. Sounds easy, but there's a lot more to it because it can be much deeper. What is your standard method for solving problems? That's a good question, right? And when I ask that in class, in our workshop, I stump a lot of people. Well, no, I just intuitively address it. Depending on the problem, I have my own internal methodology, which I can't even write it down because it's something I do intuitively, which means I do it just as a norm. Now, that's okay and that's good and that's normal, but we have to ask the question, how can I improve my decision-making skills if I haven't identified it very clearly so I can write it down, so I can look and analyze it to continue to move forward? That's a good question, too. So what is your standard method for solving problems is one of the questions we're going to dig in our workshop, right? What is creativity? And I know probably the biggest definition I've ever heard was thinking outside of the box. And that's a good one, right? That's a good one. Some of you've done the 9-dot exercise, right? There's 9 dots and you only have a limited amount of lines that you can draw. Can you do it? And the only way to make it work is to go outside of the box and connect the dots. And it actually does work, right? And many of you have done that exercise. And it drives home the point that you have to go outside the 9 boxes. And that's a concept of creativity. So let's talk about how do you open up your creativity? All of us, when we were 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, we were super creative. We hadn't been stifled yet, right? And so we're doing all kinds of things. We're making boxes out of paper, and we're making paper out of boxes, and we're changing things, and we're super creative. And then what happens is, unfortunately but true, is that when we get into the corporate setting, we start looking at this box and say, how can I fit in there? I want to be normal. I want to fit in with everybody else, not understanding that our abnormalities are really the lifeblood of an organization. That concept of the other things you bring to the table that somebody else doesn't bring because of your uniqueness. That's another way to look at it. And at another time, we could have a really big discussion on that. So how do you open up your creativity, right? It's not, you just can't say, now I'm going to be creative. As a matter of fact, rarely does that work, because what's happened is you've stifled those creative juices. And now you're going to have to kickstart it. You're going to have to figure out a way. And we're going to do that in class, right? We're going to talk about that. How can we think outside the box to be very creative and to receive and to give feedback? What's in it for us? Creative problem solving. So I want you, whatever class you go, it doesn't matter if it's this one or any of the classes that we offer, you always have to ask the question, what's in it for me? Why am I investing 3 hours, 6 hours, 3 days? Doesn't matter what time the timing is. Why am I doing that? What's in it for me? What do I expect to get out of this? What can I do when I leave this class that's a game changer for me? And I want you to ingrain that on you as a lifelong trainer. I've been training since I was a teenager, and somebody who's been in the field for many years, decades actually. I want to say to you that I still do exactly that. What's in it for me? Should I really attend this, or are there 5 other things I could be doing instead of going to class? Now, you and I don't always have the prerogative to say this is a good use of my time. I get that, right? But what your reasoning is you're trying to find out, I've got to go invest the 6 hours or the 8 hours or the 3 hours or the 24 hours. What can I do to leverage that to maximize my learning at the highest levels, right? Beautiful question if you think about it. So what's in it for us? Our creative problem solving, right? Everybody's going to answer it a little bit differently, but I want more responsibility. I want to do things creatively. I want to change the way things are looked at by our executive teams, or whatever it is for you. And then what stops us from creatively solving problems, right? And I can tell you the one that pops into my mind is fear. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to fail. I don't want to look bad. Those are all interesting concepts, but I can tell you, Deanna and I have espoused the concept of fail forward faster. And what we say is, let's go. Let's fail forward faster. Fall on our face, doesn't matter. Because you're going to grow. And that's the exciting part of it. Traits and tools for creative problem solving. Traits are things like patience, the ability to look at something objectively versus subjectively, the ability to fall on my face, shake myself off, dust myself off, and continue moving forward. I don't care what other people are saying. I don't care if people are laughing, right? Those are traits that you can use. Tools are, maybe there are meetings, weekly meetings. Maybe it's the whiteboard. Maybe it's some creative software that you found, right? There's a bunch of tools out there that can help creativity. And we all want to use that as long as it's good use of our time, and the trade-off on using that software pays out more than what that software provides, right? And so it's something to think about. And then we want to have the concept of best practices in creative problem solving. Best practices are a beautiful thing, right? Best practices mean that we have discovered the best way to do something. Now, excuse me, you might not do it the same way in 6 months, because maybe the situation changed, maybe the tools changed, maybe there's a new invention that you didn't know about, maybe there's another way to apply the same solution to it. Maybe your teammate found a better way, right? All of those things you and I need to be open to. And then the last thing we do is we create a plan to move forward, and we'll hit that in just a moment. So some of the class thoughts, we jump in, add thoughts, comments, questions, and we invite it. Our classes are highly interactive. You're not going to just sit there. You are going to be involved. We're going to make sure you're involved, because it's the best way to learn. And we want you to absorb the material. We want you to internalize it. And obviously, we want you to be able to utilize it. So we want you to ask for clarification. Another example of that, Al, can you show me another way? Can you tell me another way? Can you use a different example? All of those above in class, we welcome, we encourage, we invite. And then we have breakouts where we do exercises, where we help solve problems. So let's just say we had 10 people. We're going to break out 3 groups, 2 of 3, 6, and then 1 of 4. And it's an opportunity to work in smaller groups, to trade off information, to learn from somebody else sitting right next to you virtually. And so it's a good thing, right? It's actually a great thing that you learn from everybody else. And so we do that. And we obviously take breaks and we take lunch and we review the material, of course, right? Again, to reinforce and move that forward. And then we want to have this concept of a plan moving forward. And by the way, whatever class you take, I want you to get into that habit of saying, what do I do next? How do I absorb the information? Too many people finish class today at 5 o'clock, whatever time, and then they're off and running to their real work. And they don't even pay attention to what they just learned for 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, 3 hours, doesn't matter. Now, the bad part of that is there's no way to absorb that material if you don't do anything with it. The easiest way is to absorb it and implement it, right? That day, or certainly the morning of, the next morning, it's important to execute and to evaluate and to put it into use. And so those are some of the concepts that we've had. So what we've done is we've given you the outline, the overview of class, and then even the concept of the thoughts, like jumping in, clarifying, be part of the team, jump in, ask questions, challenge me. I like it when you say, I don't know if that'll work with our team now. Okay, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's get down and dirty into the solution. And at the end of it, I may say to you, you're right. You're right. This won't work, right? Because we've bantered. Or well, what might happen is you might say, you know what? How about if I try it for 30 days to see if that solution works? And that's the perfect way to do it. So again, creative problem solving, Diana and Mendivo, as well as Al Batinga, representing CCS Learning Academy, and upskilling organization. We are so excited to work with you. We look forward to working with you and help you solve problems more creatively. Thank you.